Is vibe coding real? Yeah, it really is. I hate the name, but do I use AI to help me code? Yes, I do. So I'm going to show you this interactive dashboard written on Snowflake platform using Streamlit and Python. So, by the way, all this data I have masked. I used an LLM to generate different names, so we're not seeing the real client data that was in here before. Um, but as you can see, you can pick any client you want. You can pick a supply partner. You can pick a demand partner, and you can change the chart from revenue to daily ad requests to revenue per 1,000 ad requests. You can show the data or you can hide it. This app took me maybe an hour, and I am not a Python guru by any stretch. Um, the code, all this code, I did not write a line of this code. So let's go through and look at what a vibe session looked like. So this is new material. There's not a ton of Snowflake, Python, Streamlit data that any of these LLMs have been trained on. So they're not very good, no matter how ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, none of them are great. But I searched and found from Snowflake a working Streamlit application. Then I put my own working code. So before I started wanting to put it all in a dashboard, I had gone through and piece by piece, I processed the data and I developed my charts. Okay. And again, I actually used AI quite a bit as I went through this, but I had done that work ahead of time. So I'm able to give both the working code from Snowflake and my working SQL and Python code, and then start asking it to do stuff. So I'm going to focus mainly on what I have to say so you get the sense of what the vibing thing is. But I set up, you're a Snowflake Python Streamlit expert and technical educator. I always throw in the technical educator so it explains more of what it does. I have uploaded the examples that explain what it's doing. You can learn from it. So again, it won't have training data a lot on this. I want to convert this code, the second code, into Streamlit. I want it enhanced with a drop down of client names that the chart refreshes. Take a look and ask any questions before starting to code. And this is a really good section here too. I want it to interview me before it starts doing code. So it does. It asks me questions about it. I give it the schema, the table that I created so it knows about it. Then he starts talking about Snowflake connection. As soon as he does this, I know he's talking about writing Python to run locally and connect to Snowflake. So I correct him. I said, you sound like you're setting up a local Python. Take a look at the working Streamlit example at the top. So again, this is me with the AI coding together. Okay. If you're totally clueless and know nothing about coding, you will not get very far. Those people on the internet claiming, they do one prompt and it writes a whole application. That's not. Vibe coding, again, I hate the phrase, but it's all about you directing the AI in its coding, and you have to bring a lot to the table, right? So again, I could tell he was going to go down the wrong path, and I referred him back to my example code. And then he was talking about how we're going to do the charting. And then I said, I don't have a strong opinion, but I know that the charts in my second file work in Snowflake. So don't start. The trouble is that it has a lot of training data on Python. but not Python running inside Snowflake. So it will think it can do things because Python can do them, but I can't do them in my environment. So I had code that worked. I told him about it, right? So we talked some more. I say, yeah, use Streamlabs charting instead of what I used, because obviously we're using Streamlit for this. And I'm saying, look, this is the Hello World version. At this point, I was just trying to get the first chart up with a drop down for the client name. All right, now you can tell, and I didn't record this as I was developing the software. This is all afterwards. So I could tell by this question that I already have working code. So add the option to show or hide the tabular data results. So by this time, I don't have all this stuff, but I have a drop down for client. And the problem was it was showing me the data. So I was always having to scroll down before I could get to my chart. So then I asked it to add a ability to show and hide it, and it did. I didn't code any of that. So it writes the code, it does that. And look at this. This is a terrible, terrible chart. And so I say, here's the chart that you're producing, and here's my original chart. So I want it to, see the difference and then offer fixes. So it does it, and it's still bad. The show data only show, and something went wrong with the show data at this point, so I'm correcting it. And I'm guessing that what I'm looking at has multiple clients in the result set. Okay, so I give it that feedback why I think it's wrong. He's starting to give me debugging tips. He thinks that it's a case sensitivity issue, and I'm like, no. Again, I am not a Streamlit expert, but I am a SQL expert for sure. Anyway, I let him know the column name is insensitive. That's not the problem. It looks like you only return date and revenue. Return all the columns in the view for the show data portion, and then chart the revenue and the date for the client. So again, I'm thinking that the reason is because he didn't bring in the client name. And then I say, are you summing revenue by day? Because I'm noticing that there's the reason why it looks so weird is there's multiple points on the same day. This is my brain. This is my intelligence. This is, again, this notion that when you're working with the AI, it does everything for you. And if it doesn't, oh my God, the AI is stupid. No, you're partnering together. Okay, we are debugging together, all right? And so obviously this must have worked because I move on to the next thing. I don't like the color of the line in his. And also add drop. So this is when I want to add drop downs for the supply partner and the demand partner. They should have a select all option and multi-select. It still doesn't have multi-select yet. I haven't gone back to bother, but it added supply partner. They have an all. What I wanted was a multi-select, but I don't have that yet, and I haven't bothered to address that. But I had the first chart working, and then with the drop down for client, now I'm adding the next two drop downs. I've added show and hide the raw data. Okay. I'm not coding. I am having a conversation. It's writing the code, but I am participating. Okay. It drew this one. It created code that didn't make them in a drop down box. It just had this big region of tags. It looked gross. So like no drop down boxes. Then I asked for the boxes should interact. When a client is chosen, only supply partner and demand partners that match the client should show. Because again, when I was testing its result, and I would pick a client, there would be this long list of supply partners, and then the charts would be nothing because it would have been a supply partner that particular client didn't use. So now I'm asking for, would you pick here to filter there? Now I want to drop down for chart type have revenue and daily ad requests. Default to revenue. And that's the chart we already have, the revenue chart at this point. So we have, when you're adding the daily ad request is selected, I'm glad you can understand my poorly butchered English there. Change from charting revenue by day to ad requests and make the line red. So if I go in here, so now we have the revenue chart. This is what we started with. And now we add the ad requests. I said red at that point. I later go on and change my mind to blue. Put the client, supply, and demand drop-downs all on the same line. So originally these were one on top of the other, and now they're all on the same line. Okay, and at some point I must have missed it. I added the third chart type, which is revenue per 1K ad requests. That is somewhere, because I go on to make sure that I direct it to handle divide by 0. Somewhere in here. All right, I know I did it. You can trust me. So now we have this working app. It took me maybe hour and a half altogether, and I, other than at the very beginning getting it to work, but it was greatly enhanced by giving it working code. So I went and I knew that would be a problem because I've done this before. So I gave it working Streamlit code. Then I gave it working code for the charts that I'd already developed. And now I'm just turning my charting code, which was in a Snowflake notebook, right? I'd already worked out this code. Now I'm putting it in. So you still solve problems piece by piece by piece. If you think you can just, hey, I'm going to put in a prompt, create me a dashboard with drop downs and handle this, this, and this, and boom, it's going to create all this. It almost never, ever will. And then you'll have to do a lot of debugging of code. But once you've trained it, in other words, you give it specific working code so it can learn from it. Then you get to have a session where you really are saying, add this to it, now add that to it, now, oh, I don't like this, or this chart didn't work, let's debug it together. That's it. I hate the term vibe coding, but I do love working this way to get to good results. Now, do you ever look at the code? Yeah, at some point. Right? Like this is at the proof of concept stage. Am I ready to ship this as production code? No, I'd have to really get in here, read through the code, and really understand it, making sure all that stuff. But I have this working prototype, and that's what it is. It's a prototype. It is not shippable production bulletproof code at this point. But still, for an hour and a half's worth of work to get this far is tremendous. It's the new way.